Are we ready for the next round? So we are here ready for the next challenge. Maybe I'll share my screen. So for those who are jumping in new, welcome. So we are ready for the second part of today, which is focusing on the challenge around the management of local forests. And so for this round, we have two very interesting speakers who are each bringing a different perspective on forest management. So we have Steven Vanonckelen, who works for the Vlaamse Overheid, the Departement Omgeving, the environmental area of the Flemish government, and who also has like other many connections to forest management, who is going to introduce us a bit, let's say, the Flemish landscape on forest management, seen more from the perspective of the public authorities. And after that, we will take the time to have a second round of discussion and conversation based again on the matrices that we have developed and that I will re-explain for the beginning of the conversation there. And then afterwards, we will finish with have a follow-up conversation presentation by Nicolas Spineux, who is one of the people setting up Bwès, which is a cooperative active in the French-speaking part of Belgium, developing another model for forest management and also connecting forests in our forestscape here. Steven, can I give you the digital floor then? If you have a presentation you want to share, you can normally share your screen.
Okay, I'll start sharing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Yes, it's loading. Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steven Vanonckelen. I'm working for the Department of Spatial Planning and Environment, a very big name, but my core business or area is not forest, but I'm very interested in forest. Anna, I think she gave me a challenge last week on Friday to present here on a topic that is not my core business. I tried to convince some colleagues from the Agency of Nature and Forest, ANB, who are responsible for this, let's say, this presentation, but it was too short term for them. So then I said, come on, let's take the challenge, and I made a presentation based on some presentations of ANB on the local management of forests in Flanders. Just very brief, who am I and where am I working on? Especially I'm working on ecological defragmentation. So together with some colleagues, we're trying to build as many as ecoducts, as many as bridges and tunnels for animals to allow them to cross safely over or underneath our main roads. I'm also working on ecosystem services and biodiversity. These are my three main topics I'm working on. And then, of course, I'm also I'm very passionate in my leisure time on different small and bigger projects on biodiversity. As you can see here in my own streets, we're putting some small green plots. Some numbers of the wood production and consumption in Flanders. I'll start firstly worldwide. Differentiated it into three categories: the firewood and charcoal, which is mainly produced in Africa and Asia. Then industrial and construction wood is mainly produced in America, Asia, and Europe. And then the sawwood, which is the smallest part, also is coming mainly from America, Asia, and Europe. Two different numbers. Then the consumption of wood. There's the main consumption in Asia, and then also in Africa. And then the second bar is a bar with numbers on how much wood there is produced and consumed. And as you can see over here, most of the wood is being consumed in Asia, but that's the main reason is that the main industry is in Asia. They are producing a lot of different materials, and then they're exporting to the rest of the world. So it's logical that this figure has a very large negative number for Asia. So Oceania is producing most of the wood and exporting the most. Some numbers of the European Union. In Europe, there are 5 main countries which are producing and harvesting a lot of wood. Sweden is first, Finland, Germany, France, and Poland. As you can see, Belgium, yeah, it's not that big. This is in volumes, so it's our numbers are not that high. Malta is last, but I think Malta is most of it's rock, so that's normal that there's not that much of forest. The different regions in Belgium, in the dark green, we have 3 parts of Flanders: Flanders A and B, so then Flanders other public domains, and Flanders a private level. Then most of the share is Wallonia, 37% Wallonia public domain, and then the biggest share is 47% the private share of Wallonia. And then Brussels 0.16. That's probably only the Sonian forest. Can you imagine? The Brussels part of the Sonian forest, and the Sonian forest has a Brussels, a Walloon, and a Flemish part. Some numbers of growth and harvest in Belgium. If you have a look at the yearly growth and the yearly harvest in Belgium, the number is almost the same. A little less is harvested than the growth. Then the numbers in Flanders, also some numbers, and there the harvest is smaller. It's really smaller than the growth. The economic importance of the wood sector in Belgium. Here are some numbers of companies per region, and then on the you can see the numbers of people that are employed in the wood sector in Belgium, and the turnover is quite big. It's 11 billion euros of turnover, and the main part is by Flemish companies. Some information on timber harvest and the management of timber plots. Well, it's important to say that all of the timber harvest in Belgium are always in function of a management objective or different management objectives. 5 main objectives are rejuvenation of the forests, then forest transformation, for example, transformation from a dense forest to more of an open space forest with heatherlands. Then safety reasons. Sometimes trees have to be felled because of reasons that they can collapse on a road or on a walking path. Then some management objectives are to increase the open spaces, to stimulate different animal and also flora species. And then, of course, thinning to provide a more or better growth of other trees. So those different management objectives are turned into a management planning. And here you can see an example of management planning in Flanders. So it's all in different documents. It's well documented in the different regions in Belgium. Then the management planning is turned into management actions. So those actions are normally put into detailed plans for each month or for each period a year, because it's not allowed to cut trees in all periods of the year. And at the end, of course, each action is monitored. It's monitored on the field by the forest rangers or the administration, and of course also in some documents to follow up on all those cuttings. Then some information on sustainable wood harvest in Belgium. There, it's important to say that wood is a very versatile product. Of course, you're all experts. This is a study from Bwès and Bwès from 2017, in which you can see where the round wood streams are going. It's for Flanders. main part is going to firewood, but then also the industrial roundwood is going to different end products. So some of them are, the last one there is plates like OSB, and also for packaging is used. Almost 60% of the wood in Belgium is certified by especially FSC and PFC. This is a study also from Bwès, Phobos, and Idea Consult. So I will mention a website where you can find all those studies at the end of the presentation. Is timber harvesting responsible? I would say yes, especially if you compare it to other raw materials. Trees are important for our carbon balance. The trees and the forests are providing an ecosystem, so they're important for our local fauna and flora. And timber harvest is also always limited by the growth, and it's followed by the management plans. So forests are important for our forest conservation, and it's also important, especially now with Corona, for the local population. The public forests, most of them are open for public, so it's important to go in and to have some clean air. Timber is a CO2 neutral raw material, and it has a lot of different qualities. Some of them you can see here. It's not only beautiful, it's maintenance friendly, it's fireproof, and it's very ecological. Then a large part on the wood selling in Flanders, so the auctions in Flanders. 99% of the wood in Flanders is sold standing through public sales. And there are 4 steps in these sales. First of all, there's a selection based on the management plans. Then the forest rangers, they're going on site, and they will hammer each individual tree which they want to sell. Then all those trees, they are measured by the forest rangers, and they will go into a catalog by the regional employees of IMB. This catalog will be provided to all of the buyers. Then there will be some auction days in which the recognized buyers and the private individuals can buy some different plots with different forests on it. And then they can exploit the trees, and it's followed up also by the forest ranger, especially that they are harvesting in the proper times, and also that they are not compacting the soil and other Then some numbers on the wood sales in Flanders. In 2019, more than 100,000 cubic meters of wood was offered for sale. Most of it was sold by IMB, but also by different public authorities. The average price was 28 euros per cubic meter. You can see the differentiation between IMB and the public authorities. And most of the wood is going for firewood prices. This is the volume throughout the different years. In red, it's the non-IMB parcels, and in blue, IMB. In 2019, less wood was sold, and it was because of the beetle, which was especially important for the coniferous species. So that's the reason why in 2019 there was a decline. The differentiation between FSC and non-FSC. So most of the volume in here you can see, which is sold, is non-FSC, and it's on average there's an equilibrium throughout the years. FSC is not really augmenting throughout the years, as you can see on the blue bars. The evolution of the price. This is a graph in between 1950 and 1986, so that's already a long time ago. For the price, you can see that it's more or less going up. There are some ups and downs, but it's rising the price. This is for hardwood, and then we have similar graph for coniferous wood. But we have to admit, the last years it's not going well with the prices of wood. So there's really a declining evolution for the prices of wood in Belgium, in Flanders, but I think it's the same in Wallonia. That brings us to some challenges. Of course, there's a very large challenge of climate change, climate issues, which is affecting the growth of the species. And therefore, it's important for already now to adjust the species composition. For example, I've been working in the Sonian forests. In the Sonian forest, they're already trying to have a better mix. It's dominated by beech, but they're really trying now already to plant more different species like oak to cope with the challenges of climate change. So the management will also differ throughout the years. Then for biodiversity, people are always thinking of forest, which is important, but of course different animals are depending on different types of nature. Also, open spaces are very important for smaller species, for example, butterflies. So more and more projects, especially European projects, LIFE and Interreg projects, are trying to have a better balance in those forests, create open space. Then you have the globalization of the timber sector, which is sometimes hard to refrain with a sustainable wood use, with the cascading principle. Most of our forests is sold to the larger buyers, and then it's put into containers and shipped to Asia, where it's fabricated. So yeah, you can imagine, is it locally sourced of wood in Belgium? So far, it's not being locally used. And then also a very big challenge for the public opinion is to make or to keep timber harvest socially acceptable. There are more and more pressing groups or NGOs that are opposing the timber harvest. So therefore, the AMB has a very important function to sensibilize the broader public in order that we can still maintain a sustainable harvest. Of course, it's a totally different story with, for example, a company of Ineos who are cutting or who are planning to cut a forest in the harbor of Antwerp. That's not a sustainable type of forestry. Then I will talk about the cascading principle. So also AMB is trying to optimize the cascading principle, not only to have a local harvest of the wood and a local production, local end use of the timber, but also to optimize the income of the wood seller. So the problem of selling on standing value is that the buyer is buying a plot on which different trees are standing, sometimes more than 100 or 500,000 trees on one lot. So it's a very heterogeneous wood supply, and that's difficult for a lot of buyers, since they will sell their product to other buyers which are in favor of a homogeneous wood supply. Therefore, the cascading principle might be useful, since if you're cascading, you also need a homogeneous wood supply, and you need sometimes smaller amounts of trees. So hopefully we will go from mass production, mass auctions, to more an optimized and a quality production and auctions. And that will also optimize the return of the wood producer and their income. Here are some possible innovative applications of low-grade wood. I found 7 of them in the memorandum of Bwès Forum of September this year. I will not go through all of them, but these studies you can also find on the website that I will mention at the end of my presentation. And then one innovative application for high-grade wood was mentioned in the memorandum, but of course there are some others. For example, the participation in a foreign timber auction or timber park. And for that, I will talk more intensively about the Flemish Wood Park, which started some years ago in Flanders. Of course, it's also interesting to think about some changes in the legislations on wood sales, and also, as you do, on wood cooperatives, timber cooperatives. This is a picture of one of the most important wood parks in the Benelux, the wood park of Saint-Avold in France. AMB, they participated in 3 of those sales in Saint-Avold, but as you can see on the right figure, sometimes the tree was cut in the Mera forest, for example, in here. It was sold in Saint-Avold, then it was shipped to somewhere north of Paris, then it was sold again to a company in Mechelen, Malines. So yeah, that's not really sustainable. It's more local already, but if you can see where the tree was cut and where the end product was made, yeah, it's kind of stupid. So that, yeah, some work can be done, and that's why AMB decided to create an own Flemish wood park in 2019 in collaboration with different partners, also from different countries, and that was a big success. There was a wood park already in 2019 and 2020. Which wood was sold at those wood parks? Well, especially the bigger stems with a high value, and the intention was to create an even higher added value. So the high quality wood for a quality application was sold, but also sometimes some very low quality wood, which was even not good anymore as firewood, but which is very important for some niche markets. And I will show some examples. This is an example of some large oaks with a very good diameter of more than 70 centimeters. Those oaks really have almost no mistakes. They're very straight. It's an even growth without too many branches. And these were sold for veneer, for different kinds of furniture, and the prices they range from 700 to 2,000 euro per cubic meter, so they're very high, those prices. Then this is another example of kind of beech, which you couldn't really use anymore for firewood, since it was totally affected by fungi. The quality was very bad, but a company they bought it for an innovative application as veneer for kitchens, and they are winning design awards with these type of wood. So this is an example of a lack or failure that becomes an opportunity. Another innovative application of veneer is this tree with some deficiencies, but it's being sold to make some fruit scales with a different kind of texture and a figure in it, and those prices are really high. This was an oak with a waterlock, so with a lot of small branches, which affected the wood. And it was also an oak which was not really straight. Then here a very small example of a niche market. It was a very small plot of boxwood. You can see it on the picture. It was sold for only 35 euros, but if you will recount it towards the price per square meter, it was more than 17,000 euros per square meter. and this is sold to people that are making some musical instruments or some smaller types of furniture. Some data from 2019 versus 2020. The sold volume was comparable in 2 years, but the volume of FSC would was rising throughout the years. On the left is a figure of the species in 2019. There, the species composition was very high. There was also a big lesson for the next auction in 2020, in which AMB decided to diminish the types and to mainly concentrate on the species that are very popular, that are very well sold. So mainly the oak species. Then some numbers of the total yield 2019-2020 and the average price per cubic meter. And you can see the average price is about 2050 to 2075 euros per square meter. And that's way higher than the price on stem, the average price on stem, which is around 28 euros per square meter. Of course, there are a lot of costs in the transport of those stems towards one site. It's also important to have a good communication or marketing on those wood sales. So it's not only the price per cubic meters that's important, but you have to see the whole figure. And then some people in the wood sector are speaking of disruption in the market system. That AMB is offering those type of species, those trees on a special wood auction, but in fact it's only 0.5% of the supply. So it's I don't think you can really speak of a disruption yet. Some other numbers. There were 12 participants in 2019 and 2020 already 26. So it was more than doubled. The buyers or the participants were coming from different countries in Europe. It was good to see that in 2019 there was one veneer company, 8 sawmills, and 3 round timber traders. And in 2020, already some more niche players were buying wood, a furniture maker, a sculptor, and also an old windmill builder or restorer. So that was an important sign, and it's also throughout the efforts that AMB did to attract some other buyers. And then you can also see the amount of wood that was sold per activity. In here, an important website of a European project, Eco2Eco, maybe you already know it, on which a lot of studies, experiments, and test cases are published. Also, the studies which are presented of Bwès and Probos, you can download them on this website. Voilà, that was my presentation. I hope there are some questions. I will try to answer your questions, but I have to admit here, Bwès from AMB, he's the expert of wood auctions and of all the wood data in Flanders. So maybe he can also help you afterwards. Thanks a lot.
First and foremost, thank you for the quite elaborate insight in like the wood market and the management system in Flanders. We have some questions already popping up in the chat. And like it's nice to see that the community has already been answering it as well. But like one of the questions was like, why did the price fell down so much the last years?
Well, I have to admit I'm not a big expert, but yeah.
I will share my screen. It doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, I think you have to unshare yours first.
I know you. Do you see my screen? Like that,
no, I think you have to unshare.
Okay, you have to
stop share. Yeah.
Hang on, because I have another graph here. Yeah. this seems to work. Yeah, because like you had like this very interesting long-term evolution of the price, more or less until like I think it was until the 80s or 90s, and then the latest drop in prices like in the last couple of years, and this is the intermediate period that was missing.
Yeah.
From your two, like between these two periods. I think you can see that prices like went down like a bit yeah, a bit earlier. Like this is for oak. So oak would be yeah, like 4 times more expensive in the 80s than it is now. I think for beech it's even more visible here. So you have a drop in prices over the last not only in the last couple of years, but really over the last 20 years.
This is not corrected for inflation or
constant prices. They're constant 2018 prices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, in particular, this graph you can see very well what Dirk was answering in the chat. So there is obviously a supply thing with these diseases, for example. Like now we have a lot of supply due to the epicea wood that comes massively on the market because of the these bug infestations. But for example, you can also see like in 1990 there was this big storm that created a lot of windrow, especially of beechwood in Belgium, and you had like a huge decrease in prices that year because you have like so much supply coming in on the market at the same moment. So it's really a lot about supply. Obviously, it's also a thing about demand, but I mean the demand, since these things go to the world market. I mean the world market in terms of demand is a bit more stable. I mean, during the crisis, there's a bit less consumption, but since this goes to the whole world, like as far as I can tell, the demand is maybe a bit more stable. Like even now during Corona, like there's still demand from some countries in the world for wood. But since there's this massive changes in supply, and in certain years the prices tend to fluctuate a lot. So that was like just from my side, maybe the experts. Want to say a bit more about price fluctuations? Onze Dirk, for example. But I wanted to you know, just I mean, thanks as well from my side, Steven. That was really, I mean, you accepted the challenge and you mastered it. very, very good. I mean, obviously, like we were discussing also with Gert and the authorities here in Brussels, like which model for the sale of public wood is the most appropriate and the most sustainable, and like maybe manages also to keep more wood here. And this idea of having like these wood parks is also something that is being discussed in Brussels. But like you already mentioned, that this, like at the current situation, like this concerns really like a tiny fraction of the wood. Like what's the perspective there? Like is this going to be something bigger in the future, or like are there other like options that are on the table? Like what is the perspective on the position of these wood parks? Like, you know, was it stay like less than a percentage, or less than 1% of the overall wood, or is this going to grow? Is there a strategy about this? Maybe you can give us.
In my opinion, it will stay a niche, since it's, yeah, you will have to put a lot of effort in transporting those different stems to a certain location, and to organize those markets. So it will stay a niche, since most of the volume, 90%, is sold on stem. Then we really have to try to turn over the traditional auctions or sellings by wood, or if we want to include a cascading principle on a better way, the legislation would have to change. That's maybe the easiest, to include some thresholds, for like, for example, to stimulate buyers that will not transport their lots further than 1,000 kilometers, or that they will keep them in Europe. That's maybe a bit controversial, but for me, that's the most easiest way to intervene. That all the beaches, most of the beaches are going to Asia in containers. So the government will have to put some more barriers to keep the trees nearby.
Yeah, really interesting, and like maybe we can already transit towards the discussion. I mean, like I think there's still many very interesting things to say about it, but like as a for the time management. So maybe I'll just introduce you to the Miro board. I'll copy paste the link again in the chat for those who jumped in more recently, so they can just click on the link and follow us in the Miro board. And then I'll share my screen to introduce you. Yeah, most of us are already familiar with this, but like we first focused on the first challenge, where we also had like two speakers who kind of gave content for food provided for the conversation. So we also have like, we had Steven earlier on, and later on Nicolas will still give an addition from the French speaking side. And also more from the citizen side. And so here we build a matrix. Here this time we organize it around ecosystem services of local forests. So there is the biodiversity. I think we mainly now also talked about like the production and local markets. We also have the recreational services. There was also the important aspect of awareness building, education, and so on. And also the regulation of carbon, soil, water management, etc. is included. So here again, we will invite you to do the same exercise, which is like we have these post-its here on the side that you can just click on, pick up, double click to type, and which you then can actually post on the matrix. So there is this level which focus on the ecosystem. So you can, according to the services, post your challenges or opportunities or information. I think we already got like a very interesting load from the presentation now, but it would be also interesting maybe from the Netherlands to also get some numbers or ideas of how the mechanisms are in place there. And then below is a focus on the network. So for this, we have the blue post-its where you can put reference cases or actors and connect these. If anyone has any more questions, they can ask them now. If not, those who already are familiar with the system can go ahead and they get 5 minutes with some music from DJ Martin to work on it and post the challenges and the opportunities they're familiar with through their expertise and their projects.
Maybe before we jump into DJ Martin, because like there was some questions about like the difference between like public owners and public forest management and private forest management, and like we have the privilege here to also have like a private forest owner here with Nienke. Nika has a very interesting initiative in the Netherlands with her family about a different way to manage a forest. And I wonder whether Nika, you can just at this point maybe say a few words about your family forest and how it's maybe differently managed from what we just saw from the public Flemish forest.
Well, different, I don't know, but what we are mainly doing actually is trying to turn from like traditional way of wood farming to a more modern way. So what I see here also on the board is we try to also make the forest a more ecological, sustainable system. Because before forests were planted as like monocultures, like you had like a piece of needlewoods, you had some how do you say loafwoman? What's a loafwoman?
Broadleaf, like leaves, yeah.
Yeah, leaf trees. And now we're actually trying to make the forest more sustainable for the future by planting also some future-proof trees, and we're also like intermingling. I mean, our forest is people can visit it. It's also for people to walk through and enjoy it. But in the meantime, we're also trying to make it to put also in some trees that are like more agroforestry kind of planting. So we put in more nut trees and some more berry. How do you say? Sorry, I wasn't really prepared on talking.
Sorry, I put you off guard.
So yeah, we try to make it a more biodiverse and future-proof as a whole. So that's
how does it work? Like how do you like? Can anybody visit the forest? Like how does it work?
Yeah,
do you have the entrance, or is it like how does it work?
No, it's just actually it's 46 acres, and or is acre the same as a hectare? I don't think so, but no, it's probably bigger than. No, it's people can visit it. It's open. It's open for public. We also get subsidies for this from the state because it's open for the public. But then you have a certain responsibility for maintaining it. Also, ideal for people to visit it. And what's the rest of the question you wanted to?
For example, like when you are there trees being felled regularly, or is it something?
Yeah.
Like how do you sell them, or like how does that work?
Well, we have this organization, the Bwès Group. I think it combines also with ProBos. I think they work together actually. They actually sell it for us. So the financing that we get from the selling of the trees, we use actually to maintain the whole estate. So actually, this is a very old-fashioned way of harvesting trees and selling them to the public.
And do you know who ends up buying the wood from Bwès Group? Like, do you have contact with like the buyers of?
Actually, we do not. No, it would be nice to have that, but I think we're also really in this sense we're also submerged in the markets, how the market works actually. So we get the price that the Bwès Group can get, and that's actually how we manage it. Yeah.
Okay, and you sell the standing trees as well.
Yeah, well, we have special pieces of where we cut down all the trees. Actually, that's how they used to do it. We're trying to find now a more sustainable way of cutting only certain trees. Because before they went all with the big machines into the piece of land, which is kind of an aggressive way of and not very ecological, because it's very bad for the soil actually. I think at the moment we're talking with the Bwès Group to find more sustainable ways of harvesting the wood in a more ecological friendly way, actually.
Maybe I can also take someone else off guard, Arnold, because you were telling about the Sociëteit Leuven, you're also considering to go more in like buying wood from forests or from city trees, and you were also talking about this idea to do this with horses and to get like a social employment in this, which would be an interesting alternative, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There's a social project in Limburg somewhere. They use horses to transport the wood, the trees from inside the forest to the roads. And then the idea is to use the mobile log saw to to saw the wood in the forest. So we eliminated the transport with big trucks to the sawmill.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah.
One,
Yeah, I
one
think
thing.
it's an interesting way to approach it. If you could. We're actually in the east of Holland, in Twente. But I think, yeah, try to find some. Yeah, maybe we can get some contact between us to.
Maybe one thing that to ask to Nienke, because I saw in the chat box some questions about private how does the wood from private owners being sold. I think you for the Netherlands explained that is actually organized through these associations of bosgroepen.
Yeah.
So they probably are acting on the market as representatives of the local private owners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same in Belgium. You also have these groupements forestiers, no? I think that's what it's called. And they work with the private owners to sell the wood. No? It's just like like here, like we in Brussels, but also in other regions of Belgium, since there's also so much public wood, they sell in auctions without going through these organizations like Bosgroep. Do you confirm, Dirk? Yeah.
Yes, but a good day, everyone. But I think that the 40% of the wood, there are also people with woods that not will working with the Bosgroep, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That we sell like directly to a buyer without going through a Bosgroep. Yeah.
Maybe just one question I have, but there may be no time for it, to Stefan. Is this Vlaamse forest park or something? Is it actually a specific geographical spot, or is this wood that was already there and assigned now to this park? Or what does it actually look like?
Oei, niet gehoord.
Oh, sorry. What does it actually look like? Where is it based? What is this park about?
The wood park was organized 2 times, 2019, 2020, in the Medal forest, but it are just the stems from the whole of Flanders, the selected stems, which are transported towards a temporary wood park in which the stems are laid down, and the possible buyers can come and have a look at the stems to have a look at
it's a sales show.
To auction. So it's kind of a show, yeah. It's like Bottibouw, you can say, but then for forest, for timber.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, are there many more questions? It's very nice how the conversation has been like flowing naturally, and I think we've already been posting on the metrics. We don't have that enormous amount of time anymore, but I think it would be
still have time, huh?
yeah, still worth the exercise of having everyone post their challenges or opportunities.
Just wanted to just one small remark on this local park then of Belgium. That's actually a model that has been used in Holland in a couple of cities as well for getting the wood sold to, let's say, designers, furniture makers, etc., by organizing like local auctions on the market. And the question was that actually with Lex together, I investigated how the city of Amsterdam should do it or could do it. Whether they should, as Amsterdam, as a public actor, create such a let's say such a moment or such a physical capacity to store the wood and to have people come there to buy it.
Yeah, I think it would be really nice to do that actually. If it's if there's a real market for it, it would be great, I think.
So the main lesson in Flanders was to diminish the species types and to first maybe try to have a look at the market, which kind of species they want to buy, high quality species, and then to organize wood markets with especially those types. In Flanders, especially the oak types were popular.
Okay, very interesting. And I think it also links to what the Rosaline proposed. Is like, I think seeing the wood and being able to touch it is also, I think, something very powerful in this market mechanisms that tend to go to auctions and become part of flows that seem intangible. So if no one else wants to add on to this conversation topic anymore, I'm going to do my third try to go to the matrix and use the last 10 minutes we have, and we can already start to post and update the challenges and opportunities we see there. And then DJ Martin can finally play his next...
Okay, we're waiting for the music.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Let's have some music then, and like have how much time? Like
4 minutes.
Take it away, boy.
Okay.
Music nicely faded out. We have Marie joining us. Hi, Marie. You're muted.
Yes, here I am. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Welcome and to join in. Maybe you can briefly introduce yourself so we can pick you up and make you join the conversation.
Yes, sure. So I'm one of the co-founders of Robin Bwès that I think we will present soon.
Okay, super. Nice. Welcome to join us.
And there's the second Nicolas. No. And Inge also. We say hello to Inge who joined on the way.
So have I just been spotted?
Yeah, we have a big control room here.
I see that. And I know that Big Brother is watching me. Nice to meet you all. Sorry I couldn't attend earlier on. Well, as you know, busy times.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so maybe we also just put the link to the Miro board yet again in the chat, so you're all looking at the same thing. So if people join or leave, then you don't see the past chat anymore. So this is where we are with the Miro, also where we put the notes of the discussion that we had earlier this afternoon on urban wood. Now we are like discussing local forestry, a bit more general. So yeah, again, like things have been filling up in the board. So very nice. We have more and more challenges and opportunities identified. Does anybody want to emphasize a certain point? Like somebody has written a particularly interesting post-it that you want to share with us?
No immediate enthusiast response. Maybe Dirk, I think what you already mentioned in the chat and which had been picked up on the sawmills can maybe be an interesting element to bring up.
Yeah, Dirk, the sawmills obviously having a big like an important role in like local value chains. Maybe Dirk, you can tell us a bit from your perspective how sawmills are doing in Belgium and the Netherlands.
You speaking to me?
Yes.
And what is the question? I've not good understand.
Over the sawmills and how they how they're having difficulties now.
Okay, yeah.
Why? Like you were saying, like in the chat, you were saying something about the big sawmills and small sawmills are being bought.
For example, in Belgium, you have a great sawmill. It's calling Fruitier in Wallonia, and the guy he have very much money is taken from the government of Wallonia, and is in Marche en Famenne is building a great sawmill. Is sawing, I think, 3,000-4,000 cubic meters in one day. And the problem is all the little sawmills must stopping, because when Mr. Fritier coming for buying trees, he gives so much money for the trees that the little sawmills must be stopped. And that's, I think, a great problem. And more than the half of the sawmills in the Ardennes are away, and exist anymore.
Right, and it's also known.
And I think that's a great problem in Flanders also.
All right, so that's definitely an important challenge that we are facing. I don't know if anyone has an idea about the situation in the Netherlands for sawmills.
I think in the Netherlands you have very much mobile sawmills, I think.
Yeah, from what I know, is like Holland has never been really a country of a decent sized wood producing industry of sawing trees. Like ever since the 17th century, we imported most of it from Germany, Austria, maybe Belgium, and the Baltics. But the couple of like decent sized sawmills that were running, but this is what I heard, have been closed already years ago. And now it's just small scale operations like Dirk mentioned. Also, like not only mobile ones, those are a lot, but also a couple of fixed sawing installations. But then we talk about not even maybe then the max would be 100 cube a day if possible, even, but that I think is not even the capacity that is out there.
And Dick, like, how do you see what Steven showed us with these houtpark, like with this way of selling wood that is already cut into stems and then selling like maybe small quantities in these houtparks? Like, what do you think about that?
To me,
yeah,
the houtpark, I think, moet ik dat zeggen? It's good for the big trees. They are beautiful, but I know that the first time that it's sell logs like that, they are connecting the French ONF. And the French guys coming looking for the logs, and I think they are cutting trees in Meerdal. I think 100 cubic meters for buying to French, and the guys from French coming, and more than the half of the trees are resting in Meerdal. The quality was not good. In French and Germany, the organizations doing that very much with very good trees in all kind of oaks and beech and Douglas trees and larch, I think in English, maple. But in Belgium, yeah, it's in the I must say in English, in the kinderschoenen. I don't know.
Initial stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's for me it's good. Yes, I see the trees that in the real time in Meerdal. I think the winter is past. It's a good system, I think. But yeah, I heard also the trees is selling to the big men with the big cars. I heard in Meerdal. Not so for the little sawmills.
Okay, there's a question from Inge here. So here we're looking about like to the Netherlands and Belgium. and like Eric just said, like maybe the Netherlands is not kind of, you know, one of the top players in this game. If you look at it at a European scale, like how are things organized in Scandinavia and Germany and France about the sawmills? Like, is there, in terms of the sawmill industry, like good practices or things that we can learn maybe from Scandinavian countries or Germany? Anyone?
I think in Scandinavia you have the two great and little sawmills.
Mm-hmm.
The great sawmills, that's for exportation, the wood to Belgium, Netherlands, and the little ones is for the for the local people, I think. For Germany, I think also. But Belgium is 3 million cubic meters wood, and I think in Germany 50 million, yeah, and Finland 70 million wood each year. They are cutting. The industry of wood is there much greater than here, I think.
And how about like local wood? Like, is there some dynamics there? Because I mean, this is a lot, obviously, like industrial applications and then paper milling and that sort of thing. But how about like, is there like a local wood movement in Scandinavia? Like, does anybody of you, like I'm also asking like the other participants, has anybody of you kind of heard of initiatives like similar, maybe in spirit to what we see here in the Netherlands and in Belgium and Scandinavian countries?
There are a lot of Scandinavian people. They have 10 hectare wood, and they're cutting trees, and it's for local for using their own for building their houses, and you have more the system there than here in Belgium, I think. Here the owner of wood he have trees. If he said, it's so good for cutting, he buy the wood and it's away. And in Scandinavian Europe, more people have wood by using the wood for only for the houses or for something else.
And the sauna.
And the sauna, yeah.
Saunas, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like Inge also asking about like if these small and big sawmills and they cooperate more, and so there's more diverse actions there.
Actions.
Like, is there a better communication between the biggest scale and the smaller scale? Is that maybe something we can learn from? We have no clue.
No, I think we have a blind spot in like a Scandinavian blind spot. I think we should do some research into how things work in Scandinavia. No? Okay, look, guys, are there other like questions or something that you want to raise at this point? Otherwise, we move to our friends from Urban Ecology Centre for the final intervention.
The one that's going to save us all.
Yeah, the future, the solution. The solution will come now.
The solution.
Nice introduction. Yeah, let me share my screen.
Okay, so we move to the two, Nicolas and Marie.
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
This is an image. Huh?
Yes.
And here we go.
All right.
Do you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. So I think Marie will start first with a description on how we balance ecosystem services in our forests. Marie?
Yes. Yes, so actually the exercise we all did in Mayro was really interesting because it's the approach of ecosystem services is really a key in our vision of forest management, and I will come back soon to it. But yes, just first of all, if you wonder about the name Robin de Bwès, it refers, of course, to Robin Hood in local language of Wallonia in Walloon, and it's actually a wink, as in French, Robin Hood is translated and means Robin Wood. So just let's come back to our vision of forest management, which was actually built based on the current forest situation in Belgium and several observations and findings. First of all, while we are talking a lot recent about biodiversity collapse, effect on climate change, and the need to preserve and protect the nature and the important role of resilient ecosystem, only less than 1% of the Walloon area is under a status of protection. So it's really not a lot. And on top of that, yes, and on top of that, there is also less than 1% of private owners who possess half of the Belgian forest. So we really see that there is a kind of privatization of the forest. And in the recent report of WWF NGO, the Belgian forest biodiversity was also stated in decline. So in terms of forest management, we tend to see forest only in terms of biomass production with a short-term vision and to prioritize private interest over collective ones, which led to monoculture of spruce, as you can see on the picture, and with the clear cutting treatment, leading to huge damage to ecosystem, soil erosion, loss of fertilization in the soil, carbon emission, biodiversity loss, and so on, just to name a few, and also landscape degradation. So we have also another side of the forest is that we call it the game meat production, so increase of hunting activities. So two main activities, despite all the other services that the forest could offer. And as you probably know, and I think you've talked a lot already about that, that most of those woods and the timber are not even sold locally, but are exported to Asia and China. So on top of that, another point is that the citizen is not involved at all and has no word to say in forest management. While they are actually also an important actor of the forest. So it's really a lose-lose situation.
I see that the presentation is a bit too dramatic. I will change the picture next time with this poor deer. The solution.
Yeah, and here we come with local forest governance mission. So our vision is to have natural, multifunctional and citizen-driven forest management. Natural because we really believe it's necessary to enhance biodiversity and the forest wilderness. Multifunctional because, as we've seen earlier, also during the exercise, the brainstorm, let's say, that production is only one of the ecosystem services that forest can provide, while they are all the services are contributing to human well-being. And we even depend on some like water filtration, air filtration, carbon sequestration, etc. So it's really important to have a balancing approach of all of them. And that's what we called multifunctional. But we also call it multifunctional because in the forest is at the crossroad at a lot of different actors with different expectations. And it's important also to have an integrated approach and to all involve them. And finally, the citizen-driven approach, because we really see forest as being part of the commons and everyone should have access to it, but also should be integrated in the management of them. So now I hear you will say, okay, it's very nice, but how to do that practically? So please don't be afraid and don't run away with this with this table. I know it could fall under the dev by PowerPoint category, but you will see that it illustrates perfectly my point. So this experience was done with citizens and different actors of the forest, of the Sint-Hubert forest exactly in the Ardennes, led by Marc Dufresne from the University of Liège and his team, who is also, by the way, one of the Robin Bwès co-founder. So I will, as you can see on this table, we have on the one side the pure even age spruce plantation, and below the uneven age broadleaf forest. And you can see directly by the colors that one kind of management prioritize only one ecosystem services, while all the others are really not foster and not balanced. While, could you just come back? Yeah, sorry. So while with the uneven age broadleaf forest, we can see that all the other ecosystem services are balanced. Another thing that this table shows is also that there are some kind of soil and some kind of topography that are more suited to certain ecosystem services. So as you can see, for example, when we have steep slope, it's not really suited for wood production, or when we have a peat soil. But with uneven age broad-leaved forest, we can see that it could be more suited for developing tourism and recreation activities, but also for all the, let's call it the regulation services. So to protect from erosion, from pollutants in the water, and etc. So, and based on this collective analysis, so it's done with all the forest actors and with the citizen, it is then possible to collectively decide and to implement what we call locally adapted integrated forest management, or we could also call it differentiated management, and to decide which zone could fit best for the production zone and biomass production, a zone that we can call intermediary or buffer zone between the production zone and the sanctuary zone, a zone that will be dedicated to educational activities, but also recreational activities, and to reconnect human to nature. And finally, different zones called sanctuary zone, where nature would be the queen, and really dedicated to conservation, restoration, and observation. So it's really collaborative processes with all the actors involved. And we really believe that by transferring authority over decision-making to those most affected by it, it will come better and more sustainable management decisions after that. And now I will hand over to another member of the team, Nicolas, who will explain more about the participative governance and the citizen mobilization.
Hi, Nicolas, can you drop the PowerPoint? I think I'll explain it just live like this. It will be easier for me. Here we go. So, well, good to have you all here. So, as Marie has explained up until now, those are the goals we want to achieve. And so we ask ourselves what means we could put in place so that we could maximize the ways to provide those multifunctional services. So there are two main things I'd like to explain. One relates to the financial tools. So because our goal is to acquire forests through different means, whether people want to give it out to us or sell it to us, or there are some spaces which are threatened by constructions as usual. And and in the same way, we figured that we needed to build a practical tool in the way of a cooperative business. Now, you all know how a cooperative works. It's of course different from one country to another, and as always, the devil lies in the details. But in Belgium, we are flexible enough so that people can easily buy actions, kind of shares of a company. They provide the liquidity, and with this liquidity, we can acquire forests. So far, pretty much easy. The advantages of using a cooperative business which complies with the International Cooperative Association guidelines, which means that if one person buys a share and another buys 10,000 shares, they get equal votes within the company, and that will come down to be very important. But back to the financial aspects, we also, well, I come down from the social financing NGOs, so of course that's well, we've been influenced by that. And the idea is the following: as Mary has explained, forest is mostly held by top wealth so far. However, in Belgium specifically, I don't know about other countries actually, it's very advantageous in terms of fiscality to own forest in the forms of shares, so through a company. And we figured that it was unfair that only a top wealth could benefit from that. So one way was to provide, well, this financial tool and also allow people to kind of safeguard their assets. If you have a forest, of course, you have up cost to maintain it. You will also have to pay a lot if you happen to die and give it out to people. However, by building this, we allow people to kind of use this company as the wood bank. So some place where they can safely store their wealth. You will tell me, but of course, if you have a share, you cannot sell it easily and so on. That's true. And that's another aspect of the tools we've built, which is to allow people some quick draw of liquidity, kinda, so up to a certain amount, and likewise allow people to get even more of what they had invested in the first end by having a system where we can all buy and sell shares in between us. Now, of course, this is limited in scope and limited through time, through the legislation we have to respect, of course. We are not that far down the line. And with all those advantages, so the ability to get your liquidity quickly, the ability to tell yourself that now my money is not financing Total, it's not financing BP, it is now having positive externalities through the simple fact that the company will buy forest and maintain it in an eco-responsible way. On top of that, we don't intend to give out any returns if the woods would tend to be valued further on. This will all be kept into what we called an, how do you translate that? Well, a reserve that you cannot split in between owners, so that no one has any interest in actually hoping that the forest would be sold out later on. So it's really providing a way for people to engage with us through, well, economic advantages and having, well, positive externalities for biodiversity and in order to fulfill those multifunctional services as well. Now, because of this framework, we can now go down to how we intend to actually do the governance. You know, everyone's heard about the tragedy of the commons, so we cannot just pretend that everyone owns the forest, do whatever you like with it, and that's it. No, of course. Hopefully, well, actually, thankfully, since a few years' time now, we've built up tools of collective intelligence practices, which help us decide with a large gathering of people about how we will give a mandate or manage those forests together. The advantages are numerous because people are now directly involved within the company. So first, they set up their money into it, or not, actually. And then we discuss it all together, how we will provide this management. Of course, the attachment, people will get to it, the engagement with the with Robin du Bwès is likely to be very high, and that's what we hope. So with providing kind of, well, a positive mindset and a smart financial tools, we hope that we will, well, at the end of the day, find ways to discuss all together how we will redistribute the wealth that is provided from nature. And that's the last point I will end up with, because I see time has just flied. We want that we discuss together what we do with the extra provided resources of the forest. So that at one point we will, of course, have to sell it to hopefully eco-responsible transformation company of wood, wink, wink. And in the meantime, of course, we will have extra provided resources in the ways of fruits or extra wood logs and so on. And we will split it together through what we would call kind of a natural money. A money which is only gained through helping in maintaining the ecosystem in the way we see it should be maintained, after, of course, having it discussed together. And people that have provided help, whether it's paid for or not, will then gather, receive the fruits, of course, in a philosophical way, but also actual fruits from the forest. So with this little time to explain it, of course, we could go into more details about the way this financial structure is formed, but it's all intended so that we can, down the line, have a positive impact on nature and allow more people to do the same.
Yeah. Thanks. And guys, just to summarize what we saw today and to trigger a bit all the discussion that will follow, I think we all see the complementarity of the approaches that we saw today and the diversity that we had. So on one hand, if I can summarize, they were our citizen-based approach to forest management and forest ownership. On the other hand, all the use that we can do for the local wood and all the activity cooperative, such as Sonian Wood Coop or the one in Amsterdam, it was in Dutch, so I don't remember the name. Sorry, Eric? That's how, okay. But what really motivates me is all our solutions today are truly local, truly sustainable, and we are really closing the loop, the full loop. We're closing the circle from growing to final use, and this involving the citizen. The citizen is at the heart of all those initiatives. So
maybe just one question. Could you maybe come up with some numbers, like how much capital is already invested in and how many, let's say, hectares of land of forest are being owned, let's say, by the corporation?
Yeah, and we should have started with that maybe, because this is we are launching this company. So in Wallonia, what we saw, a typical example is south of Brussels, maybe 50 kilometers, and they have invested 800,000 euros, so nearly 1 million euro, out of 2,000 citizens to buy and manage their local forest. And that's the kind of initiative we would like to duplicate and replicate all across Wallonia, maybe with bigger part of forests, so we can have a bigger influence and the whole system is a bit more sustainable. So yeah, guys, what I wanted to propose today is with this system, both citizen-based approach of local forest management and all the activity we can launch with for local wood, we could launch a social and ecological cluster around local forest and around local forestry, and maybe go further by proposing our model to answer a project and for maybe answer the Green Deal call. I know that my friend Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, she proposed 1 billion euro for the Green Deal. And I believe that all together here, we can propose a systemic solution that foster this local circular bioeconomy. So for me, I see it, at least for us, so we see it as a great networking opportunity. It's also about getting funds and of course visibility. And in the end, the purpose will be to challenge a bit the status quo and the traditional way we use our resource. So maybe we can do a Friday afternoon poll. If you are guys interested, thumb up. And if you think it's completely stupid, then thumb down. Maybe we can 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, we have digital thumb up and real thumb up. Eric, yeah, cool. 3 Nicolas, cool. So yeah, guys, if you are really interested into this, maybe you can drop a mail or contact. I don't know how, Anna, you want to manage this, but to keep our contact and then foster.
Well, if everyone can do it, I can share the contacts. Just privacy management. Speak now. Or...
True.
But maybe Eric, you have some questions on how this would look like, or what are the ideas?
Yeah, just one very, let's say, a practical financial question is like, I mean, I understand that that there's much more value in this than only financial value, but it's still an important argument for people for getting people involved with money. So we talk about shares and not bonds. And can you talk about, can you actually give an example of roughly the range of return on financial investment, let's say, the financial return on investment that people can actually expect, which you would like to raise as a minimum?
Okay, well, good copy. I will let Nicolas, our economist in chief, answer.
So yeah, so indeed, those are shares. So you have property of the company and activist rights. So you can vote at the General Assembly and so on. So we do not provide dividends. So there is no way to get financial advantages from owning the shares directly as you are living. Likewise, the share will not grow in value. That's a choice we can make in the status of the company. The advantages you get is, well, as you are running, this is it's the maintenance and of course the time you don't waste by managing your forest yourself and by having it managed globally. But the big trick comes when you die, unfortunately for you, or if you have like older people in your family, you can tell them. When you own physical assets, it gets very complicated because, of course, you have plenty of categories and so on. But you can expect that the fiscal range would be from like 13 to 25% from owning a forest. Okay, as it goes down to your grandchildren or children and so on. However, when you own a share, and specifically if you own a share within the kind of cooperative we would like to make, so it's a cooperative, but on top of that you have an additional legal structure which is called how would you translate it, Nicolas? It's called groupement forestier in French, so it's like
forestry groups, yeah,
specifically intended in the law for that, so that people own forest through that company by having shares, but when those shares go down to their children or grandchildren, you barely pay any taxes, like from 3 to 7%, again, depending on other variables. So we expect it to be quite easy to convince people who don't really bother by owning forest, they don't do anything specific with it, that they would have this advantage from just putting it into our company. I say our company, but that would be our company in the wider sense. Does that answer your question?
Maybe I can complement a bit, Eric, before you answer. So yeah, first you understand, as if you are a member of the cooperative, you will get financial and maybe more fiscal advantage by owning a share of the company, but also you will get discounts on the products that are produced by the forests. And not only on the wood product, but also on the ecotourism, maybe this new staycation products. So all of this, we want to offer discount to the members that are also shareholders and that also have the forests. So that's in both ways we offer that as a services.
So basically, the direct return of the investment in money is not there, but it's actually value that's within the cooperative, and you can benefit from all kinds of, let's say, advantages, which is not completely clear to me. But you basically have value in something that you care about, where people are involved in, you yourself are involved in. You transfer this to your children, and you invest because of you're aware that you should do something to preserve this great, let's say, value of the ecosystem and the green environment. Is it kind of summarize it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, discount on the ecosystem services, discount. Sorry, not discount, but fiscal advantages. And then transmission to your children or grandchildren.
So it creates a sort of a possibility for, let's say, your whatever income tax statements to have a thing to deduct from. That's what you're saying, right? Like it's something to put on a checkbox. Yeah, I invest this in money. Then you have like an indirect advantage with or not. Or Nicolas is saying no. Well, maybe there's too much detail.
Well, we can quickly answer that. Just a slight difference. We are not a conservation organism. We are not a nature conservation agency. We want to propose multifunctionality of the forests, and the multifunctionality, the benefit of this multifunctionality will be offered to our members. Maybe Nicolas, you want to complement?
No, yeah, that's it. So we have to, indeed, it gets quickly complex with all those ways. So in terms of when you buy the share, unfortunately, we can't have it both ways. So in that case, you don't get any like tax deduction this year on. You get a fiscal advantage when you inherit. You will not get return as dividends. However, as Nicolas rightly added to what I had said, you get a discount on the goods, which is kind of like giving a dividends, but only if you buy products which came out of our forests. So it's kind of diverted dividends.
All right, thank you. Very interesting, and I think like at least also the conversation here, and like I find it at least a very inspiring alternative for the forest management. Timing, unfortunately, gonna stop the conversation here, and maybe Erik, do you want to introduce Pepijn, because it's been your
sure. Yeah, actually, on a very short notice, we were able to invite Pepijn to just share a bit of his work he did in the Netherlands. I met with Pepijn of DR2 New Economy Consultants. They're sort of activist consultants in the area of sustainability and let's say, yeah, that's a new perspective. Through a project they were doing with wood, working together with the province of North Holland, and looking into practical business cases, applications of circular applications for wood, and trying to find and really push, that's what I actually liked, push the people around the table to really say, yes, we're going to do it. And yeah, so and Pepijn has developed tools and things and knowledge that he wants to share to the community as well. So please, Pepijn,
hello.
Invited.
Thanks.
Short notice local wood summit, huh? also thanks from our side to Pepijn for joining us, and very curious to hear.
Well, thanks for having me, and I think it's getting dark everywhere. I think I have about 5 minutes, so I hope to inspire you, maybe share some links. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, that's great. Well, we're currently in a transition. You guys know all about this. And a lot of companies are busy with sustainable, where we have to identify how can we be more restorative and be more regenerating. And of course, wood or bamboo or hennep are all well, beautiful examples of plant and bio-based solutions from which we can make materials. So we constantly identify which materials will reduce the CO2 And we don't believe in temporary compensation, but we believe in CO2 storage. So that's in all the products we do and projects. We try to identify how much CO2 storage can you put into a project. That in combination with a circular business model is where we think is currently a lot of possibilities for new endeavors, for new business models. The product itself could change. I mean, you can make a wooden table, or you can make, like here in my house, I built a houseboat with a lot of secondhand and bio-based materials. That's still, I bought it. It's a linear model. Where indeed before me, I heard a new business venture. You can also already think in the possibilities to make a wooden product more circular. So we know it's not eventually going to be thrown away and going to be burned, because then we still miss the CO2 storage. So we constantly look in a combination of making or new wooden products currently out of the forests in Europe, or we identify possibilities of making products and out of demolition or the normal routes of, we call it the Milieustraat. I don't know, really, to be honest, the way you throw your litter away.
Garbage disposal or something?
Yes, it's Friday evening. Thank you, Erik. And here we currently have a shift in Holland that we are not going to use wood anymore for our energy transition. We're going to stop burning it. So we're going to have a lot of leftovers. We call it A and B wood. So we're trying to identify possibilities to make products out of that. So our focus is to use all the wood that's currently in the system and try to make products or within construction or for tables and other possibilities for furniture. And I see a lot of companies identifying that possibility. So they're changing the resources, but they're not changing the business model. This is something we can support and we're currently doing. And we have a model for also for wood, which we can share because it's open source. So we identify the possibilities, and this is Dutch, of the different business models and look at the possibilities. Of course, of the value, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to make money, but I'm here to make impact. But you do have to create a business case to identify possible investors. And of course, you see the possibilities, not one lifespan, but different possibilities where you can use a product more times, maybe with different users. But so the value of the product will eventually be way higher than currently just buying it, using it, and then eventually recycling it or use it as a landfill or burning it. So normally we would identify that with way more in depth with different kind of also conflict materials. And for wood, of course, that's not a conflict material, depending what this resource is. If you still get it out of South America, or you still get it from forests that are currently not reforesting it sustainable, it could also be like, say, a conflict material or have a negative environmental impact. So what we do, we identify the possibilities within a supply chain, and this is where we won a prize this year. We did the product last year. We identified the possibilities within the construction, but also in Amsterdam, where some trees just fall with a storm, or some trees get sick, so they have to be chopped and they have to be get out of the city of Amsterdam, and that's a lot of wood. So we identified the possibilities to make products out of that. But of course, you have to identify a feasible supply chain. So what we did, we used an activity-based costing model, which you normally have in your own company. We translated that to a whole supply chain. So we identify the possibility of the, let's say, economical perspective. How much value could the tree make? And on what way should you chop the tree, or should you saw the tree, or use all the parts of the tree, because it's already in an urban environment, but it's in Amsterdam. So the labor is, more expensive than maybe in another well, normal situations where maybe the wood could be out of the east of Europe, or maybe the wood could be out of China or whatever. So we have to identify in the city itself what the possibility is to use that wood so efficient as possible. And now hopefully you also see the Chrome, or do you just see the presentation?
No, we see the program now.
Okay, great. So this is the calculation model we made, and it's open source. And if you guys are really interested, I didn't have time to translate it because we spoke yesterday, but you can use this, where you can identify, well, kappen means that it's going to be chopped, collecting, processing, distribution to make a product out of it. So you can put all, with every step, you can even make more steps if you want. So after maybe collecting, you have to saw it, you have to dry it, maybe you have to put the tree to dry after sawing for maybe 2-3 years. It have to be stored, of course, before you can make products of it. So you can make different kind of steps. And here below, you can compare your different possible products that you want to create. So this is from tree till building material. And you could put your transport, labor, supplies, equipment, all the costs. You can put your volume in there because, of course, after a certain volume or scalable, it's going to be feasible. And you can put your investments there. So maybe the municipality has to invest, maybe the collector has to invest, etc., etc. So you can identify your whole supply chain, see who needs to invest, know what you should invest together, but also identify the economical perspective and see if there's a possibility, if it's break even, and also if maybe it's not a break even, how much volume you have to increase to make it break even. And you can compare this with different kind of, this is from collecting wood out of a, I see there's something bad, but that's always when you last minute put something online. This is when you get a big wood out of a house and directly reuse it, but you still, when you demolish it, it will lose 10% because it has to be get by the big, how do you call it? Who knows the name? It's collecting word bingo Friday. What's the name of the big thing? Going like getting the wood out of a
grappin in French.
Ein Greifer in German.
Ah, okay. A graver, een kraan. Okay, now we're there. So okay, so the grabber is indeed going to grab it, but of course, if it's going to selective demolish the building, you'll lose something. So you can also put that in here. So that's the drop-off rate as well, and the volume of the end product, etc. This is making A/B chips or different plate materials, because of course when you saw, you have chips. This is from tak en tophout, so that is when you harvest, or let's say in the snoeiseizoen. What's snoei? Who knows the snoeien?
Pruning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Pruning. Snoei. Prune, yeah, prune. So when in the prune season,
Hey,
Sam, 100 points for Sam.
what?
100 points for Sam, who got it right.
Yes, good. And you have a lot of material that's left, and you maybe can use that as well to make different kind of plate material. And then you have a value chain overview where you can compare all the different solutions. And of course, the normal public and environmental costs, you can put here and here as well. So let's say if you almost break even, but now the wood is not burnt. So it means you can still go back to, in our opinion, and this is constantly, we're all very trying to get the Green Deal in the EU, that maybe, well, it's going to be 135 per ton or 700 ton. that's something you can eventually put into your business case, because other companies need to eventually maybe compensate. So you can put that there in as well. So because I got about 5 minutes, it was pretty fast. We won this prize, and then we supported a contractor in Holland who wanted to identify for a big renovation of their harbor and different kind of damwanden. So let's see, wie weet damwanden? Should have put there damwanden. Damwanden.
Dam walls.
Dam walls. Well.
Dat is maar één land in de hele wereld dat dat gebruikt. Hè.
Zeg je?
Er is maar één land in gans de wereld dat dat gebruikt. Dat zijn damwanden.
Damwanden, oké.
Dus daar denk een Engels woord.
Niet. Maar, well, these pillars, which in Holland we have a lot because we live under sea level. That's why we don't understand English and all other languages, because we constantly have all this water around our ears. But we identified the possibilities of reusing, of course, reconstructing this kind of wood, but also what would happen if you would use local wood. And we identified that in different flows using, well, the first stakeholder analysis and supply chain, and calculated it. And we got a 10 in the tender, and that's pretty unique. So in short, we have this calculation model currently in Dutch, and we would love to maybe host a session together to put it in different languages. It's open source, please use it. The only thing we would like to hear is when does it work? When do you think we should make it more elaborate? But it works, and that's something, well, we shared yesterday when we had an update, and that's, well, in short, what we could provide. That was it.
All right, thank you. Very interesting. I don't know if there are any questions or if anyone wants to jump in.
I have one. Yeah, I have one.
I hear you.
Yeah, Pepin, is there any way to calculate the CO2 emission along the way and along the supply chain, or it's just manual entry at the end?
Yes, it's in there as well. For every step, yes. So total cost per ton. The problem is I got an old sheet, but the one we will share, because I couldn't get my colleague Jona, because that's something we had to do for the tender for the constructor. But yes, and we use the greenhouse gas protocol information for that.
Cool, okay.
Yeah.
Een damwand in het Engels is een sheet pile.
Sheet pile, okay. I think we can make a bingo. Dankjewel, Dirk.
Graag gedaan.
Are there any questions, suggestions, thoughts? Oh.
Yeah, I think maybe also drains a lot of their energy.
No. Eric has a question.
But you're muted, Eric.
Eric, you have to switch on your mic. No, your mic, Eric.
No, or he wasn't talking to us, maybe.
No, I think he was.
Eric, did you want to ask a question? You're muted.
I think we're hacked with Russian hackers. They hack constantly everything that's super important.
Well, Zoom is Chinese, huh? So.
Oh,
I was wishing Marco a good weekend because he was leaving.
Ah, okay. Have a good weekend, Marco.
He's walking around still in shorts, and he's cycling back from Amsterdam to Haarlem, which is, I think, a heroic action.
Definitely. Okay. Anyway, like I think, Ben, you left your contact details. If not, like
I will. Yeah.
All right. Great. So if anyone has wants to get more information can go straight to you. Thank you so much for jumping in quite last minute and sharing this with us. If nobody has any more questions, like maybe
I had one to Pepijn, because we looked. I was part of one of the meetings that you guys organized at the province of North Holland to look into the 4, let's say, chapters of AB wood and blah blah blah. What did you actually conclude on feasibility or in barriers? Are you hopeful for finding solutions, or did you actually find that the practical world and is also rough and hard to find alternatives?
Here in Holland, we are missing talent for sawing and small sawing factories and small distribution factories, and also indeed the drying of the wood needs to be done somewhere. And in Amsterdam, well, we are very arrogant because every square meter is super expensive. So that is a negative on the business case. But if the CO2, let's see, the eco tax or the true pricing will be implemented in, let's say, 5-10 years, and we all agree in the whole of EU, wood is going to come up in all different possibilities for construction, for furniture, you name it. So I see a lot of opportunities, and currently we are also asked to make a business development approach for the reuse of A and B wood with a social enterprise. And every business case I'm currently creating, well, it looks at least break even. So that will mean if we scale it up, or we will have the true pricing model, it will be way more beneficial. But we're not gonna, well, we're gonna sell it, but it's gonna have a deposit. So let's say a furniture that's a wooden furniture that's gonna be 200 euros. They're gonna buy 200 euros and they're gonna have a deposit opportunity between 50 and 100 euro. So you always will have it back. And then you can include your true pricing CO2 storage, because you guarantee it's not going to be eventually part of the waste supply chain. So that's something we're currently calculating, and it looks indeed very promising. And also the wooden constructing and also CLT, let's say in Helsinki, recently they put a whole neighborhood in wood. In Amsterdam, we're currently negotiating with the municipality to stimulate more wood within the buildings. And it also looks very, very positive.
Cool, thanks.
All right.
And maybe also to include that we calculated in the metropole regio of Amsterdam that on a yearly basis, the wood that comes out of demolition, it has a minimum value of 200 million euros. And then we take the minimal wood price, and that's the normal price on for a wholesaler. So not even for your for the normal how do you say it? It's way before the supply chain. So
would you have any indication? Would you have any indication, Pepijn, of the value of wood that is being now reused at the moment? Like, but this is the theoretical value of the demolition of let's say wood from demolition projects or renovation projects. But what is the current practice? How much is currently being reused?
I think that's going to change, because indeed we stopped using that wood for our energy consumption. So, well, the whole papers, of course, are full of it. But currently between 5 and 10% tops. Where in Belgium there are more factories to make MDF, which I think is not a very nice solution, because MDF, there's a lot of we're losing a lot of components that are well, let's say not good for the environment. You have OSB plates, so you still have to have find a bio-based solution to make these different kind of materials, and a lot of product developers are currently challenging themselves on that. But there's a big potential, yes. And there's a group currently investing, I think, in the first factory here in Holland to also identify the possibilities. And then something else is super interesting. We did a research on the need of construction material in the south of Holland. What would happen indeed if the eco tax will eventually be implemented? That means that concrete is going to be way more expensive, but a concrete mill has the problem that it's also near currently urban places where cities want to grow, so they want them out of that area. And concrete has to be eventually wet and transported over the road, which has a super impact, where wood can be made prefab near the factory and has a way less weight for the trucks, of course, to eventually be transported. So maybe you guys know the well-to-wheel approach, where normally, let's say, diesel, electric, etc., is being compared. We are also busy with different LCA studies, well-to-wheel, where you see the big difference when you eventually use wood in construction, from the whole process, from a tree till eventually in the apartment itself. And that is a huge, huge difference. So municipalities will eventually support all constructors and architects who are going to start making more wooden buildings.
Oh, that's so it's like a very, how to say, hope, giving an encouraging note to end the conversation with. Like I'm gonna wrap up now. That doesn't mean that we cannot stay in longer for if we want to maintain the conversation. But like I do want to use this moment to so briefly, quickly invite you still to join us also tomorrow for those who have the time. So there we also have a quite interesting program, mainly giving brief introduction to pioneering projects, and I mean, which some of the people who are present now today will present, such as Rosaline, but also there is a moment that we ourselves will talk about the Sonian Wood Coop, amongst other things. And I think what has specifically also been interesting with this group, which now has been more engaging in the discussions, is that tomorrow we are also very fortunate to have the Urban Wood Network from the States with us. So Don Peterson is going to give a presentation interview and give us some insights in the way they're working there and how they're building the chapter and the network. I also still take advantage of this moment to like encourage you to register on the Connecting Nature platform to make this local woods initiatives visible. It would be also a great way for all these initiatives that we have presented here to share their information and details. And voila, I'm going to leave it there. I don't know, Stefan, if you still want to have a closing say.
No, I mean, thanks a lot for everybody. It was super interesting. We're gonna pull through tomorrow, as Hannah said, with another very interesting session, and people from also, like, there will be people from Canada also joining in the afternoon to show urban wood initiatives in Montreal. So if you have a bit of time tomorrow, like, don't hesitate to tune in the afternoon. Yeah, I think this is it. The first local wood summit in Europe. We made it. We eventually did something. Thanks everybody to be with us this afternoon. It was great fun. It was super interesting. Like I mean, thanks for Nicolas, Pepin, the Robin Dubois crowd, Sam. We didn't hear a lot about Benjamin. I hope he's not in the street still, because he was in the street in the beginning.
Yes, no, I'm in the car.
In the car.
with a little baby crying. So,
Right.
Yeah. With the headphones, so I'm not sure it's good.
Drive safely.
Yes.
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. We can leave this this open for a moment if you want, because we just opened some beer, so we finished the beer anyways. So if you want to hang out, like this is possible. But the official part
only if DJ Martin continues playing.
Well, maybe we should strategically cut the recording then. Can do some Zoom party. It's been a
no, but
tested
really,
concept.
thanks a lot for everybody. It was great to be here. Yeah.
Thank you all for your contributions as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Merci.
Look, Benjamin is driving. Where are you going, Benjamin? You're going to what's